All right, so we're going to reset the game here, and just for grins, I went ahead and set the game up with the map oriented and the setup charts on the side of the map. And if you've got like one of these map frames, it has the plexiglass filler, like a poster frame. This will fit inside that, so that's kind of a cool thing to discover. Well, let's go ahead and do the invasion. Sequence of play normally begins with rolling for weather and getting your supply points and all that. But on turn one, we don't need to do any of that. Instead, what we're going to do is for each of the invasion beaches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we are going to roll a single die roll to determine what happens to our brave boys landing on the beaches. So we'll start with the Rangers and work away from north to south. So Darby's Rangers are going to roll on this column here where it says Rangers and Commandos. So nothing bad's going to happen to them. The only thing that can happen on this chart is the level of advance. So anything other than a 1, they advance 2 hexes. So we roll the dice, and we rolled a 3. So these guys get to land, pick up the VP. So we'll go ahead and adjust the victory points by 1. And then what we'll do is go ahead and decide what we're going to do with the secondary advance. Probably a good idea to watch this particular pass, but I think of more importance is to move them inland 1, and we can start supporting the commandos with the second turn. So we'll go ahead and just mark this with a cool Allied VP or victory flag, control marker, however you want to call it. Now let's roll for the commandos. We have the same story. And we roll the dice. Oh, I saw that 1 just for a second there. It was a 3, which is fortunate. If you roll 1, you're not going to take Salerno, and you're going to have a devil of a time getting the Germans out of there. So that's a good thing. So they get 2 hex advance. 1 hex will be to advance here. And then we're going to do a breakthrough combat on the garrison unit here. Now this garrison unit is a variable strength unit, so we have to discover what is its defensive strength value. And to do that, we have to look at this chart here. So a 4 or higher means there will be a battle. Anything other than that, and he's just automatically dead. They run away. Oh, no, he's a 6. All right, so 6 means he's going to have a strength of 2. So let's go over to our CRT. We have 2 2-strength commando units. Total combat strength of 4. Attacking here at Salerno, this guy has a strength of 2, which is unmodified. The variable strength units do not double their strength in cities or hills or any of that stuff. So it's just going to be a 2-to-1 shot, 3-to-1 because we have elite units on the attack and no elite units in the defense. So it goes up to 3-to-1. And you know what? I think now's a good time to use our British Navy units. So let's go ahead and use the destroyers from Task Force 85. That'll bring us up to 4-to-1. Looking at the chart here, is that a really good use of it? Well, let's see. On a 3-to-1, if we roll a 1, that will cost us a step. And a 5 will cost us a step. Whereas if we go with the 1 column shift, we have the same story. Either way, we're going to take the hex. You know what? Let's go ahead and save the destroyers for later. All right, 3-to-1. And we'll use our British die. We rolled a 4. And A1, DR2. So this is a Defender Retreat 2 result, but since he's got a movement rating of 0, he dies. He can't retreat, so he's gone. And one of these guys is going to die. So he goes in the eliminated box. This guy advances 1 hex more, and we can advance the victory point marker to a 3 on the general records track. So not a disaster, but less than ideal. Now, had I used the destroyers, let's see. You know what? I rolled a 4. I was looking at the wrong column. It's a DR2. All right, so we do not lose the commandos. Okay, that's a better result. Sorry about that. Sometimes when you're filming, it's easy to look at the wrong column. So the 4 became on the 3-to-1 is a DR2, and that's enough to get him. So he's done. And notice it says advance 2 hexes. You don't get to advance any further during breakthrough combat. So with breakthrough combat, you're using your advances in lieu of advancing another hex or using it to engage in combat. If the hex that you engage in combat is cleared, you can advance into it, but that's all you can do. So there's where we are. Now we're going to do Uncle Beach, which sounds like a really bad Disney program. And let's see here. Uncle Beach is going to use its own column, if I recall. Yep, Uncle Beach is going to use this column, which is the only explanation I can find for the little, looks like a fortification symbol on the map. This has no effect on the game, but I think it's there for historic information and probably explains why this particular beach has its own column. So rolling a dice, we roll a 2. And that's one of the bad results. -1 step and only 1 hex advance. So let's go ahead and handle this. We'll put the beachhead marker in there. We will eliminate the 1 step unit because I think flipping this guy over, it's going to be much weaker than keeping him on his front side because troop quality on the reverse side is green. So I prefer to do that particular scheme, and then the tanks will come in as well. So they're done. No further advance for them. Sugar Beach does not have a beachhead, so we'll just roll for it, and it's going to use all the other beaches are going to use this other column. So 1 or 2 means they advance 1 hex. Anything more, they advance 2. So we'll go ahead and just roll these out. So 5, Sugar Beach. We'll go in and get the airfield. So we just go boink, boink like that. VPs go up to 4. We're going to do Roger Beach. And so dumping him down the hex. Oh, okay, he only gets 1. Interesting. And so that's what they're going to do. Now, we do have a situation here where an attack here, if it forces a retreat and there's no determined defense that cancels that, conceivably, whoops, sorry, he's supposed to be here. This guys are pretty much out there all by themselves, so it's possible to get an attack on that beachhead with the 16th Panzer, but it's a really aggressive move, and I think you leave yourself open to a disaster. Even if it succeeds, I think you're opening up opportunity for the British to go and grab that town. Yeah. Batapalia, I think is how someone said they pronounce it. Okay, well, we'll just think about, we're thinking too far ahead right now. Let's just continue on. We have 2 more beaches. Red Beach, I'm going to use the American dice, and they only get a 1 hex advance. Blue Beach also only gets a 1 hex advance. So less than spectacular results here. These are more attractive beaches to attack because they don't have tank support right now. And so you can get the column shift for elite and the column shift for the tanks. And that might be an attractive option then for the Germans. But that's basically how the invasion is rolled out. It's really simple, really easy. So the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to follow the German sequence of play. German units only get half of their movement rating. And 1 of the Fallschirmjäger battalions cannot move until turn 3. So aside from that, you have a German turn. You're going to be able to move, do all of their shooting, all their combat. Then it's going to come over to the Allied player turn, and they'll be able to land the follow-up units using the landing procedure. So they can land on one of these hexes and then advance 1 more hex inland, zone of control permitting. I think the guys here can then also use tactical movement as well. I believe that's the rule. I'll have to double check. And so that will also allow these guys to kind of reposition around Salerno, which will be important because the Germans are going to want to put pressure on that. If you can take Salerno, you can really bottle up the Allies because the end game for the Allies is really to exit off the map in this direction in that sector. So that's the overriding goal for the Allies. For the Germans, you're trying to prevent that. Why do you want to go after beachheads? Well, it's less important in the campaign than in the avalanche scenario. However, if you take one of these beachheads out, it will be a bottleneck for bringing in the floating reserve, which I haven't moved over there. It's these guys. And the swishing of my chart has shifted things somewhat, but basically these guys right here are your floating reserve. You can bring 12 in each turn. Each beachhead can take in 3 stacking points worth of units. So if you can take out 1 or 2 of these guys, that does turn into a bottleneck for bringing in follow-up units. It's not a huge bottleneck, and I'm too new to the game to suggest whether that's a good idea or not. I just suggest it is what the rulebook suggests. It's an option available to you. So I think if the opportunity presents itself to take one out, do it, but don't wreck your army trying to do that, because basically you're going to be in a much better position just defending along the hills, bottling up the allies in this this open area for as long as possible, selectively counterattacking in order to delay things. But once 8th Army shows up, you're going to have to start racing, and then the game's going to basically revolve around controlling these passes north, and the battle will be up in the area far away from the beachhead, or further away from the beachhead. So that is Salerno 43 campaign game. Here's how we open things up.